Oh, we already kicked off. Okay. All right, let's get going. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. Really excited for today's webinar. We have a special guest, but before I frame up what we're talking about, I really just want to talk a little bit about the format of today's webinar. So today, Nora and I are going to have a conversation about the role of the PMO in a change. And it's very much a conversation. So if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, please just pop it in the chat. Daniela will be moderating the chat for us. She'll make the call of whether to jump in. If she may give you the controls to take yourselves off mute. Or if you have just a comment, she'll make the comment on your behalf. I'm sure we will have some time at the end. If we have time at the end, we'll cover off on any questions we didn't get to. But by all means, if you hear something that you agree with, don't agree with, want to expand on, or ask us to expand on, by all means, jump in. So we're probably going to go for 30 to 40 minutes. And yeah, let's see, we'll see if we've got some time for questions at the end. We will be sharing the slides. I think I've only got 2 slides, so probably not much use in sharing the slides, but I think we can probably share a copy of the recording with you. So don't worry if you come in a little bit late or you have to go a little bit early. We'll share a copy of the recording with you. All right, so introductions. I'm always getting told off for not introducing myself on these things, so I am going to introduce myself today. Many of you know me. I'm Louise Gardner. I am the Managing Director of Pledge Consulting. As well as wearing the MD hat, I am also super passionate about PMOs, and I've been running PMOs, setting PMOs up and overseeing PMO as a service for more than 20 years now, as much as I hate to admit that I'm so old. So I really am very, passionate about the PMOs providing value in an organisational context. Joining me today, I have Nora Parvez. Nora is an experienced change, adoption and communications management professional. Her specialty is really relationships, it's stakeholder engagement, and really achieving multi-level end user change management. And she works right across technology transformations, and has worked for government, financial services, healthcare, marketing, utilities, you name it, Nora has done it. She's currently supporting one of our customers as a senior change manager, designing strategic change interventions that engage stakeholders at every level of the programme, including transformations driven by AI and other emergent technologies. Nora's very passionate. Ultimately, change management for her, and I don't want to put too many words in her mouth, I'm sure she'll tell us, it's ultimately about outcomes and value. She's driven by really helping organisations turn transformation into genuine, lasting value realisation. So one of the catalysts for this conversation, obviously the environment that Nora's in currently, but we're probably working with 10 or 11 large businesses at any point in time. And the one thing they all have in common is that they are managing complex change initiatives. So the catalyst for this conversation really was, seeing firsthand how much complex change is going on and how the PMO can be leveraged to support that value realization. So as I say, we're going to have a 30-40 minute conversation about how the PMO can support change, essentially, if and how and why the PMO have a role. So this is my last slide of the presentation. I do have a couple of others to finish off with, but there's just a slide really to firm up what we're talking about today. So as all of us that work in projects will know, delivered on time doesn't always mean adopted, valuable. It doesn't mean in itself, even if you deliver on time and on budget, it doesn't necessarily mean success. So by way of framing up this conversation, the question I'd like to ask again at the end of our conversation, Nora, so remind me if I forget, that underlying question is, what role does and should the PMO play in making sure change is adopted? So that's our kind of umbrella conversation piece for the session. So I'm going to stop sharing for a bit now. We'll come back to the pack shortly. And I want to just pose a question to start the conversation going, Nora. And I'll say to those of you who are just joining us, if you have questions or comments, please put them in the chat. It's a discussion, it's a conversation. It's not a kind of traditional presentation. So we're really interested in your views and your experiences. So to kick us off, Nora, when you see projects that are technically complete but don't land as expected, they're not used, they're not adopted, or they haven't been used or adopted to the degree that was really required, what are you seeing are usually the issues around that, if that's not too big a question to kick us off?
Thank you, Louise. Good afternoon to you and everyone joining this webinar. I'm always up for a discussion about this topic and really excited to be here. To go answer your question, Louise, because traditionally when we deliver a project, it's traditionally about, is it on time, is it budget, has it been delivered, done. The question of, is it being used, that solution, is not a question that is asked at the end of delivery. So when we are measuring, we're measuring, are we on time? Are we in budget? We are not traditionally measuring, are people ready to use it? Are people using it after delivery? Because in the PIR, that doesn't usually come up. So it's not a surprise to me that adoption fails if that mindset, if that traditional mindset of project delivery is still on. And I guess we need to shift that to add adoption as a delivery for a project. And that's where the partnership between project managers and change managers come with business to do that and make that happen.
Yeah, great. So you mentioned project managers in there. Give us a feel of your view on where project managers typically sit in the change process, accepting that in the big, large, juicy changes that perhaps you're involved in and we're typically involved in, there's usually a change function or a change person as well as a project manager, which I know isn't everybody's experience, but let's stick in that model for now.
Okay, absolutely. I will talk through my experience, but also give you an example. Lots of change practitioners or managers or leads, they do follow a framework of change, just like project management has frameworks, and we can do agile, we can do waterfall. Change management is a practice that has framework as well. And you can find a lot of, if there are change managers on the webinar, they would be aware of a lot, but the most common is the ADKAR model, right? And one or the ProSci model, which has been who developed it. And they introduced this methodology of a triangle. And I'm going to talk about the points, the vertices of the triangle, being one is sponsorship and leadership, one is change management, and one is project management. So to answer your question with that methodology, we are partners in that delivery. We are partners who is on site in parallel deliveries. One being delivering the project, time, budget, and what it comes with, design, development, and one is about adoption and usage. So we are partners, and I have in my past projects, big, medium, small, always partnered with my project manager and made sure that is a relationship it's one phone call away, vice versa. So it's a very, very important relationship, as is the sponsorship and leadership in that triangle of success.
Yeah, that's really interesting language, actually, to hear you talk about project managers as partners, because I've worked in environments where project managers will sometimes say, oh, that's not what we do. We're not responsible for change. What's your view on, a best case project management relationship versus a not so good case? Can you talk a little bit about the contrast between having that partner and not having it?
I think it comes from project definition. When you were saying, why does a project fail? When we're defining the project, we are first aligning that this is not just let's say technology transformation as an example, we're not only delivering the technology transformation, we want to make sure it's adopted, right? So when we are measuring success, and whether it be through planning, documentation, toolkit, and steering committee conversations, we are measuring delivery and adoption, because no point in investing millions of dollars on a technology if people don't use it. And we can talk through it, but people don't use this is because they have resistance to the change. And technology is one side, but it's the human beings who are going to use that technology, right? So to answer your question, the best case is when we're aligned that, okay, that means that I will need these business leaderships on board to make sure their people will understand the change, the why of the change, and understand the readiness landscape. Are you with me? Yes, because adoption is my end goal. That is my objective, and that's my deliverable. So that's a best case when we define the objectives as delivery and adoption. And the worst case is, I think, when project managers, and honestly, I think we're evolving as well as project managers, but project managers, they think it's just the wishy-washy. It's not. There is a science and a psychology with moving a human being through the what's in it for me in this change and changing their behavior, right? So there's fabulous statistics that if change is not utilized, or change management is not utilized, 71% of projects fail, and that's a ProSci statistics, right? And
Okay.
if it is utilized correctly, the benefit realization is sixfold, 6 times, and that's statistics from ProSci itself, their investigation. So for me, is we want to make sure that the realization of the benefit realization of the project is sixfold, and it is realized with the people who are getting that change.
So I just want to play that stat back to you. So with change management, you get sixfold benefits.
Benefit realization, yeah.
Benefit realization. And 71% of projects that don't employ change management techniques fail to realize benefits.
Correct. If they don't do the change management correctly, it's 71% of change is failed. Yeah. So that is something that's astonishing results. And I remember when I was looking at the statistic, when it was presented to me and I was doing the studying of change management and the practice of it, I was like, wow, that's just an easy win when you are talking to the leadership. And it's like, do you not want this to be realized in your team, in your department, in your company, in your enterprise, right? So hence why people are paying attention to, no point in having a shiny technology if people are not pressing the button, right?
Yeah, amazing. I didn't realize. I knew there was research around success and change. I actually didn't realize those stats were so high.
Yeah.
Given that then, and coming back to the kind of topic at hand around the PMO, what do you think the role of the PMO is to support you as a change manager and the whole delivery life cycle, actually? Because in my mind, it's not to say it's not separate. In my mind, it shouldn't be separate.
Correct.
And I'm sure you've got different experiences of the one thing about PMOs is there are no two the same. So I'm just keen for your thoughts and experiences of, I guess, both how you've seen this work well and where it doesn't quite work so well.
Okay, let me give you 2 examples of the 2 industries I've worked in. One is in energy, and EPMO in energy, and one is in finance industry. Yeah. And where I've seen it work well, and they're both in these 2 industries I'm talking about, they do the tactic differently, but they enable change. They make sure change is a conversation when you're doing project initiation, right? It's like, have you done, for example, in energy, they say, have you done the C card? That is the risk assessment, because and the high level change management is the people risk management. Okay. So have you done the C card, which will have an output that your project is a low, medium to high impact change? That would mean you would need to assign a change manager XYZ hours, which would mean it will open up the toolkits that this project will need to submit for change management, right? Along with project management and cost and whatnot that goes with the EPMO function. That's the energy side that I was referencing to, it works really well as well. So people submit they have a costing, they submit it, they do a seed card, and it goes through the different triaging of change. So again, an enabler and enabling and making sure change is in the conversation of initiation. It's amazing in EPMO. On the other side, EPMO, they when I was working there, they did a redesign in finance, and now they have a dedicated change manager in the different sections or silos of the company, because their updates for change is the changes are always iterative, and there's updates always happening. It's an agile mindset, so that means like no point in assigning it. EPMO makes sure that change reports their update and the toolkits to EPMO, but the change manager is always assigned from one iterative to another iterative to another iterative. Are the toolkits still being used? Absolutely, where needed for that iteration, but they are still reporting, and EPMO is still enabling that change as well. So that enabling method and making sure that change management is always a conversation in the solution, I've seen that work. Where EPMO is not enabling or having a conversation about change becomes an afterthought. That means it only comes in for a tactical last 100 meters of the race, and that potentially has failure repercussions.
Yeah, that's probably the most common critique I hear of, not specifically PMOs, but delivery environments broadly, is that change is considered too late. It's considered as an extra cost, and it's the first thing to be chopped off when budgets come out under scrutiny. We've got 31 people in the chat at the moment. If you have experienced this phenomenon of change being thought of as a nice to have, or an additional extra, or if it's seen to be something that's tacked on at the end, maybe just hit the react button. Let's see if people are alive out there and awake at 4:18 on a Thursday afternoon. Hit the react button if change is something that you maybe. Yeah, we got some people. We got some thumbs up.
For sure.
Yeah, we've got a few there. Can't see them all on the screen. Let's go to the other page. Yeah. So it's not just us, Nora, that are seeing this phenomenon where change isn't always the priority, which, going back to those stats, right, is a concern.
Absolutely.
I guess one of the things that I observe a lot is that change is considered in delivery life cycles, but it's seen as separate. So separate to the PMO, separate framework. So PMOs will often have custody of delivery frameworks, project management standards.
Yep.
The change management often sits outside of that. Not always, but often sits outside of that. Do you have a view on whether that's a good thing, a bad thing? Can you work with that, or is that not really the way to go?
I think that the key, let's use this example of a assessment card or a triage card is assigned to a project that gives it a rating. Okay, this is a high change. Let's say this transformation is a high change. So we're dealing with a high change, high realization, high impact to people is realized. EPMO, or to have the key frameworks to be embedded in that kind of change. So it is actioned on, it is reported on, and any risks are identified. I think it's a positive thing to be included in part of the project management lifecycle. I've seen it work positively. You can have the change practitioner be separate in its ownership of the change outcome, but reporting to the framework, the change framework, in a nucleus way is not a bad thing. There are still ownership of, hey, how is readiness going? Any risks? Do you have any, what's the update on XYZ? That is fine. That is the ownership of the change practitioner. But to be like, oh, actually, I'm waiting to do the learning needs analysis. That is something, is that going to be delivered next week? That keeps the change practitioner and everyone else in the project aware that there is assessment being done with our people that's going to find out how much and what kind of learning is needed. So also the project team in meetings are also aware that people are important, and we are doing all these activities to assess how we are going to adopt our people. So having it separate kind of makes the updates separate as well. So I welcome it to be included in the framework, to be included in group discussions.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is that it wouldn't be a negative to have that change management framework, artifacts, even perhaps people, question mark, to be included within that broader project and change management office. I see I've just invented a new name for it, project and change management office.
Sure. Absolutely, because I go back to it. We're in partnership with project management. We're not running our own race. We are running together in parallel outcomes. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a comment in the chat from Mark Ford. He says it's been a great benefit for our organisation integrating change templates into the PMO framework. So part of the business case submission is a requirement to conduct a change complexity assessment.
Absolutely, Mark. So that change complexity assessment sounds like the C card or the change card, which understands what is the complexity of that change. So different names, but absolutely agree with you on that one.
Yeah, we've seen organizations that have both a project program portfolio, choose your P, management office, and a separate change management office. What are your thoughts around that kind of structure? Have you seen that? Again, it's accepting that all of the organizations that do this probably do it in a slightly different way, but conceptually, what are your thoughts around that?
I think when that happens, that's because there is a growing number of change teams, and hence you need to actually even manage the program of change happening, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense because that particular company is managing the program and the office is managing it. And then as long as the head of that change management office connects with the other project or program office to be like, yep, we're all on track on our change offices, on our change projects or programs. Is there anything that is a dependent? Can I raise a risk because you are delivering XYZ and we have raised a risk on that? So you can manage, because obviously the change office might be having a discussion about tactic or a strategy, or they've got a resistor issue that need to be discussed in a localized framework. But that does not mean they operate separately. They need to come together to raise and communicate with the project management office.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Nora. Let's go up a level now. We've done the PMO as an overarching kind of unit. Let's go up to governance and let's think about steercos, particularly first off. As a seasoned change professional, do you feel change is adequately reflected in senior governance forums? And if not, we didn't practice this one, so I genuinely don't know if you do or not. But if you don't, is there a line there back to the PMO that can be more helpful in looping change people in?
Really good question, and I love it. Let me give you this answer. Earlier on in my change career, I have seen it not be monitored in the way that I now see STICOs monitor. I now advocate for the change, I guess, train that I am responsible of making sure it's not running overboard. So if, for example, with my tactics, I'm always checking readiness, pulse checks, are they engaged and are they ready for adoption? Adoption measurement doesn't just happen when the technology goes live. You've got to be ready to receive it, and then you measure usage afterwards. There's different parts of adoption, right? So I then have a conversation with my project managers, like, I think that it'd be great to show the readiness of 0% now, so I can show the progress of the readiness as we hit the goal, right? So I advocate as a change professional now for change, to be a topic, as in, are our people ready for that transformation, is a line that I like to be discussed in STICOs now. I advocate for it. But you are right, it was not appearing unless change practitioners or project managers advocate for it. And for sure, PMO has a role in including that as a metrics in STICO to always being asked. I think that is where the governance of PMO can enable a better change switched on STICO. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense, yeah. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, perhaps I'm going to pose a suggestion to you. As you've gone up the ranks as a change professional through change manager up to senior change manager, do you think it's not the appetite for change to be at the seat at the governance table? It's actually your willingness and necessity to agitate for it that's changed, rather than you're not being invited. You are, I'm sure you're invited in the end, but you're not initially being invited. You're actually knocking on that door and saying, I need to be here.
Oh, absolutely, Louise. Like, I think change management is a huge relationship building project in oneself, right? It's like, I had to earn trust, and then if I didn't get it, I'm coming in because this is important for your people, right? So, and then they do trust you because you are talking about their people, right? So absolutely. And as my career has progressed, I invite that agitation more from myself in a organization, because like, you hired me to give you my professional guidelines. This is what you need. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
So as a PMO person now, you're making me feel a little bit inept, because I don't know how well in some of the things that I've done in the past, I've actually reflected that needs and standards and guidelines. It's always in there, but I'm not sure if it's in there to the degree that it should be.
The landscape is always changing as well. Yeah. I think in this post-COVID era, and this era of working from home and whatnot, and also the era of AI coming up, the appetite for change is also evolving. So what is being included in STICO is not just, are our people ready? Right? So it's always evolving. And when I reflect on past projects, I go, oh, you know, so we are evolving, and that's the exciting part. So let's go. We're going to be good.
Great question from Rachel. She made some great points about the psychology of change management. In an environment where change is an afterthought, how do you get difficult stakeholders, i.e. resistant stakeholders, to come along for the ride?
Great question. I never am ever scared of a resistant stakeholder, because I know their resistance comes from fear, or they are worried about their job changing, or something being too difficult to adopt, or Excel sheet they loved using being taken away from them, or a process being changed, or their role evolving. So it is, and one of the things that's what I love ADKAR for is, in that acronym, the D is the desire. Once you understand what your stakeholder has the desire to change. So if you're saying, for example, because it's a hot topic, let's do it. In the AI change, usually the desire is AI efficiency going to take my job? That is the number one desire. Becomes a resistant stakeholder. So for me to enable them to be adopted to that new AI something, I need to be like, no, because I am talking you through a workflow. This is what is going to make easier, but you're going to have a new workflow, a new organizational map. That means you'll have other work to do. That is easier. So it's like, when you are, okay, my job is fine, done, I will adopt to this change. It's not a difficult stakeholder. It's a stakeholder we haven't understood yet, and we haven't understood the desire for what they need to adopt to that change.
Yeah, I always think as well, to add to that, a actively resistant stakeholder is much easier to deal with than a passively resistant stakeholder. So Correct. Someone who tells you they agree and then just doesn't do it is much harder to wrangle than someone who says, I don't like this, I don't want to do it, I'm not playing. You can deal with them. The passive ones, sometimes it's months before you get to the bottom of what's irking them.
You're gonna laugh because an active resistor is my change champion. I make them a change champion because I want to hear every pain point and make sure I deliver on the solutions or alternative or reassure the why, right? So they become and they are the best advocates. When you've converted them, whoo, they'll be telling everyone. So I immediately when I'm watching people, when I enter, I watch a lot. And I'm like, I want that person to be change champion. And someone like, are you sure? He hates it. I'm like, not until we go through this project. He'll be fine. You know what I mean? So it's the best
And
change champion.
do you have any tips for dealing with those people who are more quietly or passively resistant?
First, I understand if that's their personality. Some people are just not as talkative as I, right? So, and I respect that. So for me, it's not having a meeting with numerous people in the room, right? Not just having a town hall, it's having a one-on-one. It's understanding the people they work with to see if they're similar things. So it's going covert and being respectful. And it's also knowing it's a journey for them. You're not going to win them in the first 5 interaction. You might win them when you've earned their trust in the 8th, right? So it's being patient with that courtship, if you will. It is a samba dance of courtship, of earning trust, right? People are probably laughing with all my references, but it works in my head, everyone.
That makes total sense. You're making me want to go up the organisation structure again now. So
Sure.
we've been to the PMO, we've been
Yep.
up to governance committees. Let's go up to sponsors because some of the most difficult passive resistance can sometimes come out of the most senior people. It's
Correct.
difficult to deal with in a number of ways because they're saying to you, yes, let's do this, and then their behaviours are doing something else. And then, of course, it's also difficult because you don't get to get them into a quiet spot in the room and say, come on, sort yourself out, because they're the boss usually. So have you encountered this, and how do you maneuver this typically political and difficult situation?
Absolutely, because a company might say we are going to be efficient. What that's the outcome, that's the output. We're going to be efficient. Well, there is real life consequence of efficiency in certain departments, and their leaders will definitely not be happy with it. So the key thing, if I go back to my triangle, is that leadership and sponsorship relationship, they actually become, and I insist, they're the face of change. They are the face of this project of change, and they have to be for a very, very key thing in my project, which is strategic alignment. It is actually a line item in steer to say, is there any resistance in the leadership and also in the people we're delivering the change to? There's a twofold. Is there any issues with readiness with the people who are going to get the change, if it's that kind of change? And is there any strategic gaps needed? And I will then be actually, this person has cancelled this meeting 3 times. I think this is, we need to really have a conversation. Please sponsor with myself. Let's go and tackle. Are we going to lunch? Let's do this. And let's hear, he's going to tell you his pain points. I'm telling you right now. Okay. So what is the strategy? We go to a meeting with the sponsor. What is the strategy? Because we need to have the answers ready for his questions. Does that mean I have to get rid of 2 people? Does that mean it's like, no, yes, what is it, right? And obviously that's a conversation. And again, that's that resistor kind of model that we were talking about. Strategic alignment is probably a line item that every second STECO is brought up. Yeah, for sure.
You're making me think of an example that didn't have a happy ending, actually. A long time ago, when I was a newly minted middle manager back in the UK, I was appointed the head of a task force. So we did a big reorg. We had some very smick American consultants come in, and there were some working groups designed to focus on all the areas of the business that weren't felt to be going well. And one of the areas that wasn't felt to be going well was that there was too much bureaucracy on on projects. So what that meant is too much reporting, too much governance, too many meetings. And so we formed this Destroy Bureaucracy task force. And everybody said it was a great idea. We've got to do this. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. From the CEO to the people in the call center. And where it actually broke down was the middle management layer. They said it was great, but wouldn't turn up to anything. They wouldn't turn up to any meetings, or if you caught them, they'd say, fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, we got to do this. But that the bureaucracy was actually threatening to take their whole reason for being away.
Right.
Or at least that was the perception, I think. We didn't have any change people, and we didn't have any ad car back then. But a lot of this conversation is making me think that would have cost hundreds of thousands of pounds even years ago, hey? And
exactly.
It just failed. It just completely failed. Done with the best of intents.
Correct. And that, to me, I totally can relate to that kind of scenario even now. And in my head, it's then making sure all the middle managers going to their boss, and it's like, we need to align them. Is that a workshop? Is there a day out? We need to align right now, right? So absolutely. Strategic alignment in leadership is one of the most key. It's actually the top point of the triangle. That's how important it is. If you're not strategically aligned, people will not follow the adoption of the change. Full stop.
Yeah. A couple of things in the chat. We got a comment from Mark. Great discussion point as well. The benefits of a change management office is to provide analysis on enterprise impacts across programs, projects, and BAU activities. Really good point, Mark, here. Whereas dedicated change managers are more focused on the impacts within project. If we had more time, I'd probably want to talk about the relationship between corporate change and project change.
Right.
Maybe we'll circle back if we've got time at the end. But Angela's got another great question as well. When is the best time? This is one for you, Nora. When is the best time to engage the change manager, change specialist in the project lifecycle? I suspect that it may be at the planning stage. If so, how does the partnership project manager stroke change manager work so that it's conducive to a successful delivery of the project and successful adoption of the outcomes?
Really good question, Angela. And my answer would be definitely before the design stage, because when you're designing the solution to be in time and budget, according to the project manager, you're also designing if the solution has benefits for the people that are going to affect. So the benefit realization that you will measure will be defined early. So like, okay, so we want to do process improvement. If we are making this process faster, what other process can we adopt to when that time is saved? So it's in the design, and it's important the change manager is part of that. And when you put the change manager part of that, it automatically becomes a combined deliverable, because you're saying the deliverer of something, of a technology, is assigned with the benefit of it that is measured after the delivery. So I would, to your question, would be in before the design stage, for sure.
Yeah, fantastic. We are getting a little bit short on time, but I'll ask you the question that's on my mind, because I'm interested in your thoughts. What you experienced the relationship between corporate change and project change, and what should it be?
How do you define corporate change?
So
give me an example.
People will have a department, or sometimes within strategy, where they have corporate change people who are really there to do change and comms at an enterprise level.
Got it. Sure. Sorry. Yes, I understand now.
Have,
yes.
As in Mark's comment, they'll have change managers for individual initiatives. Quite a different remit, actually, even though the job title is often the same.
Correct. Yes, you're talking about the corporate comms team. You're talking about the corporate marketing team. Absolutely. Or you're talking about the project change. I think it's obviously different in its definition, meaning the project team is there to deliver something, even if the adoption is measurement of adoption is afterwards. Whereas the corporate and marketing, they're looking at the life cycle of a brand identity, right?
So they usually have a relationship there.
100%. Right now, it's funny you say that. About 1 hour ago, I just met with the corporate comms team going, we need to communicate this in these XY channels. And I created that relationship even earlier because I knew she had to be important in delivering that. However, she's a stakeholder in the project, Louise, where I say, make relationship early, because if she does not get on board to understanding the why of this change, she will not post it in all the mediums of the company, right? So she'll be like, oh, no, I don't think that's relevant. We don't do that kind of update. But because I've included her in my business working group meetings, for her to understand this project XYZ is affecting New South Wales government, XYZ. So if our people don't know what's affecting in the government, they're going to be blindsided. And then they're like, yeah, Nora, should I put this in the middle of the home screen? I'm like, yeah, sure. You know what I mean? So it is a tool. Corporate marketing team and a corporate comms team is a tool change managers in the project management space use. It's a relationship, has to work together. But it is a different, they're concerned with and to her defense, she would be concerned, is this update going to be beneficial? And if I don't tell her why it's beneficial, she's not going to listen to me, right? So they're doing one job and I'm here to do mine. So, but a relationship, yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, we've got probably one of our last questions from Joanne. To introduce change approaches in an organisation, what would you recommend to start with?
First of all, having a framework that change will follow for projects going forward, Joanne, but also teaching what change is. We are having change managers or a change approach. We're here to make sure that we care about you adopting this change, or there's a transformation happening. So we want to make sure your opinions are catered for in the design. So make sure you frame it to what's in it for me when you present it to them, right? When you're presenting this change approach, what's in it for the person who's hearing, the department who's hearing, the enterprise who's hearing, the leaders are hearing. It's XYZ. So always come from what update can I give, so they know that I'm caring about what's in it for them.
Yeah, the other thing I'd add there, Joanne, as well, is think about models. So Nora's talked about ADCAR, she talked about ProSci. They're probably the most common, the ProSci stroke ADCAR sits underneath ProSci. It's probably the most common framework that we see, but it's certainly not the only one. There are models like
there's a Potter. Correct.
So there's a heap. A lot of them are slightly more academic than
correct.
ProSci. That's why the ProSci stuff gets up so well. But they're simple to adapt. They're definitely worth a look certainly before you're going to spend too much money purchasing licenses and all that kind of stuff.
It's a model you can just reuse as when you're introducing the framework, Joanne.
All right, so we are almost at time. Just gonna throw to the floor. Has anybody else got any questions or comments for Nora? While you guys are having it, we've got one from Dermot. How do you suggest exec stakeholders are managed? Both the PM and CM need to communicate effectively with the exec. And from a PM perspective, that is not a status report. It's much more. Change management also needs to change manager also needs to communicate often with the execs. So is this done together, project manager and change manager, or I'm thinking primarily about exec availability and their busy schedule?
Absolutely. Dermot, I think when there is a transformation project or a project that's delivering something, one of the things that I believe that's important with the executive relationship is first, not just give updates, but have conversations that they're strategically aligned to that change. So usually the sponsor would be doing an executive roadshow to make sure, hey, we're doing this change, your team is affected. So you are going to be doing this change with me and a partnership with me. So before giving the update of communication, that is a meeting or an outcome at the end. I think there's more relationship management that needs to happen before the meeting updates can be given. So it's a relationship management activity that needs to happen with the leadership, with the sponsor and the PM and the CM to go on a roadshow to get execs on board before updates are just communicated. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that was good. Nora, makes perfect sense. So I'm going to circle back to our opening slide now and try and take out some key things that we've covered. So the question that we asked at the start of the session, what role should the PMO play making sure change is adopted? So from what I think we've discussed today, it's about making sure there are standards, it's making sure there's good engagements, it's about being partners, or at least making sure there's that spirit of partners with the not only the delivery team, but every group of stakeholders, I think is what you said.
Correct.
That's what I heard. What is there anything else that you should call out under this heading?
And making sure that that change management is part of the PMO governance. And whenever a project has gone through PMO says, have you done the C card, or the other example that was given in the chat? So to assess what kind of temperature this project is for change. So it's part of the PMO governance model, change and project, it being a partnership in doing the delivery of the product, but also the behavior of the people.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Nora. Insightful as ever. Thank you so much for your contributions. If anyone does have any follow-on questions for Nora, or for me, don't hesitate to shoot us through an email. We will, as I said earlier, shoot you a copy of the slides, a copy of the recording across. Just a couple of reminders for things that we've got coming up in July. We've got our benefits and value implementation roadmap workshop. That is a really hands-on half-day session where we'll be helping groups come out of that session with a tangible roadmap to support benefits and value realization. So it's not theory, it's not training, it is a facilitated session to help support tangible outcomes. So really excited for that. It is a hybrid session, so we'll be in our office here in Sydney or online for that one. And then in September, we are off for our, I always do the same thing, hey? We are off up to Brisbane for our annual PMO Leadership Symposium. We've got some great speakers lined up for that. We've got Transport and Main Roads, we've got Sunshine Coast Council, we've got a ton of interactives. So we did sell out really fast last year. So if you are up north and you'd like to come to that, save your spot as soon as you can. And on that note, thank you to all of you. And yeah, catch you on the next one. And thank you, of course, to Nora for joining us. Thanks, folks.
Thank you for having me. That was great fun. Thank you.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.